Clothes with a Conscience, a campaign that started the conversation a year ago on the fashion and textile industry and its impact on our environment. This year, our specific focus on Clothes with a Conscience is on what we can do with our old clothes or anything that uses textile and cloth, even if it is just torn, unusable scraps. What do we do with our discarded textiles to keep them out of landfills? So many Indian households repurpose torn t-shirts as dusters, ripped bed sheets as floor cleaners, faded curtains to wrap blankets in during the months of summer. So why are we even having this conversation? Because fast fashion has led to a growing surplus of unwanted clothing that is contributing to our existing mountains of textile waste. Throwing them away is the easiest solution and also the worst. So we need to recycle, repurpose, reuse. One way to recycle clothes is to donate them to charity from where they will be distributed amongst the millions of poor people who don't have clothes or can't afford to buy clothes. But what if you could give something old and also get something new? That is where our story begins. The city of joy, Kolkata. Kolkata is known for its rich culture, literature, film, food, coffee houses, and historical landmarks. It's also a city of contrasts with wealth and industry, but also the homeless and poor. One of India's largest and most densely populated cities, with one of India's oldest landfills. Dhapa choked with the daily waste generated in Kolkata homes.
But my research led me to realize that fabric waste is actually a huge environmental problem. And even the World Economic Forum states that up to 60% of clothes being produced today is actually lying around somewhere unused and thereby wasted. So in this problem is so big and it has a huge impact on the natural resources like water of our country. At the same time, we live in a country like India where the social disparity is so large. I mean, we are struggling with the problem of wastage and excess, but there are still so many people in the rural areas who need clothes as essentials, and there are so many women who need work and empowerment. So the idea came to me, why not use our excess, why not use what we consider as waste as a tool to empower the rural communities. And that's how the, idea or the model of Twirl was formed. So it forms the link between the two ends of society.
Meet Sujata Chatterjee, an engineer by education but a social entrepreneur by choice. She is the founder of Twirl.Store, an award-winning social initiative that aims to reduce fabric waste and empower women. Their vision is to make retail a sustainable circle that benefits both society and the environment. Twirl.Store collects unwanted clothing and fabrics from individuals, housing societies and organizations all over India and repurposes them. The mission is to transform waste to wonder, while also providing a source of income for rural women, or as they describe it, twirl your trash. The clothes collected are then either given to those in need or upcycled and put back into circulation in a new form.
So we work with fabric waste predominantly. It is, unwanted clothing of individuals or fabrics from individuals, as well as the defective pieces of, say, manufacturers, the fabric excess of retailers, wholesalers. We collect all that is unwanted for organizations as well as individuals. We collect all this material and then it is segregated, and we then upcycle the majority part of it and make it into a range of products. So we actually make around 200 products, and they're in the categories of bags, accessories, home decor, gift items.
In the 6 years since it was founded, Twirl.Store has collected more than a staggering 1.2 lakh kilograms of clothes and fabric, distributed more than 30,000 kilos of clothes and essentials, and upcycled more than 90,000 kilos of fabric into products. And doing all of this is a team made up entirely of rural girls and women. In fact, Twirl.Store has empowered over 200 women, and in doing so contributed to many of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, including gender equality, economic growth, reduced inequalities, and responsible consumption.
Twirl.Store is an all-girls organization where I think except for the collection and delivery part, every role in this organization is done by ladies from less advantaged backgrounds. So at Twirl, I had a wish and a commitment that I would ensure women empowerment and reach out to the women who are probably not getting equal work opportunities. So outside our urban cities, there are still many women who cannot get access to work because they're either located too far away or they're not being able to abide by strict work hours. They have family commitments, and because of these reasons, they're not being able to become part of the workforce. So at Twirl, we actually encourage a decentralized model of production, which means work goes to those who do not have access to work. By this model, we are able to ensure that we can allow those women who didn't have this opportunity before, we can allow them also to upskill themselves and to, earn a little or empower themselves by associating with us.
This humongous effort has earned Sujata many accolades and recognition. Her work has been acknowledged by UN India, UN Women, UNESCAP or United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. But for Twirl.Store, the biggest achievement is the change that is coming in the rural communities they work with. And it all begins here with the daily receipt of bags and bags of clothes which are taken to their storage room. There the clothes are divided by quality and usability. Can it be donated or can it be upcycled to make something else? The clothes are also segregated by type and style of fabric: cotton, denim, silk, katha, embroidery. The clothes then go through a process of steaming which is done to sanitize and clean out all bacteria, dust and other external dirt. The clothes are dried in the sun, which also works to remove strong odors and make them smell much fresher. The process of cutting that follows requires manual dexterity and the skill to cut different types of fabric from cotton, denim and nylon to chiffon, silk and natural fibers. There's a different technique for each one.
না প্রথমে তো আমাদের ট্রেনিং দেওয়া হয়, অ্যাকচুয়ালি মেয়েদের শেখানো হয় কে কোনটা কাজ করবে, মানে এইখানের কাজ কিরকম কি হয় না হয় সেগুলো দেওয়া হলো। দেওয়ার পরে আমি বুঝতে পারি কোন মেয়েটা, একটা মেয়ে ধরুন 1 মাস 2 মাস 3 মাস ট্রেনিং নেওয়ার পরে আমি বুঝতে পারি এ কতটা কি করতে পারবে। ধরুন যে এ লেভেলের আছে তাকে ওই কাজটা দেওয়া হলো, যেটা আরেকটু কম আছে সেইটা পারলো। কেউ যদি হাতের কিছু কাজ করে তাকে সেইটা দেওয়া হলো। এমনকি যারা একদমই কিছু পারে না, মানে ফার্স্ট লেভেলে অন্তত ক্যারি ব্যাগ বানানো শিখতে পারে যাতে, সেটাও দেওয়া হয়। প্লাস আমরা এখান থেকে গ্রামের মেয়েদেরও তো কাজ দিই এখান থেকে নিয়ে, তো তাদেরকেও সেরকম ভাবেই দেওয়া হয় যে কোন মেয়েটা কি পারবে, এখান থেকে সেটা চুজ করে নিয়ে যাওয়া হয় যে এরা যদি এটা করতে পারে তাহলে ওদের জন্য অন্তত ওইটা দেওয়া হোক। মানে সব আমরা চাই যে সবাই কাজটা পাক, সেটা এখানে বসে হোক কিংবা ওখানে নিয়ে গিয়েই হোক।
The all-important stage of stitching something old into something new is where Twirl.Store's range of 200 products takes shape. These products are all one-of-a-kind, unique, single-piece products with no two pieces alike. They're all available for purchase on their website. They're shipped all over India. And get this, you can even return the clothing items when you're done using them. Twirl.Store says it's perhaps the only brand in India which has a buyback policy for all clothing bought from it. They let the customer buy, wear, enjoy and then return Twirl clothing back to the store when you no longer want to wear them, as long as it's within 9 months of the date you first ordered them. Returning the clothes will earn the customer 12 points which can be redeemed for any other product on the site, while the clothes you returned under the buyback will either be given to those in need or to upscale fabrics. Headquartered in Kolkata, Twirl.Store works with rural communities in the districts surrounding Kolkata, such as South 24 Parganas, through their rural centers. In fact, there are more than 25 such centers where local women are taught the skills of cutting, stitching, and preparing the cloth, which will then be transformed by them into various products. This is empowering the women. giving them basic livelihood, improving their standard of living, and giving them a sense of purpose and belonging. Of course, Twirl.Store also has once-a-month donation drives, distributing clothes in nearby villages or among street children or then to poor children through NGOs.
And I look forward to now working with more and more corporates and organizations. I will look forward to, giving them upcycled corporate gifts or upcycled products for their daily needs. It is when organizations and more people at large embrace upcycled products, they accept handcrafted upcycled products, that we can slowly move to a better world, and that's the future I see. And my wish is to take these upcycled products made by the women of Bengal, the rural Bengal, and take it across the world. So as I said, we've already started that journey, but let's take it even further, and I hope more people will come forward to support us in that dream.
As they say, be the change you want to see. Well, Sujata Chatterjee and Twirl.Store are certainly living that philosophy. With this social initiative collecting clothes from all over India, you don't have to only be in Kolkata to twirl that trash. From Kolkata in the east to the city of Vadodara in the west, NDTV's campaign Clothes with a Conscience is continuing to bring into focus what happens to the life of your discarded clothes.
So this whole consumption pattern has changed drastically in the last few decades because we want to buy more. It's like saying 2 shampoo bottles, 1 free, so you buy, although you just need 1, but you'll end up buying 3. So that's the kind of dynamics we now live in. And because of the overconsumption, we are also having too much of discard.
45-year-old artist and advocate of zero waste, Medha Bhatt threads magic into unwanted, discarded pieces of cloth. Today, Medha is painstakingly bringing a bird to life, made out of patchwork of discarded fabric material, different colors, textures and prints, all coming together one stitch at a time. Medha Bhatt is a trained designer who has been threading her journey by advocating zero waste and making art with fabric discard.
I joined NIT after 12th, and that was in 1995. And at the end of my academic education, we are expected to do a graduation project, and that project I did with Kutch Mahila Vikas Sangathan, which is in Kutch, and the name, I was documenting Rajput applique textiles of Rajput communities, and the research involved going village to village, collecting and documenting old textiles of applique. And that's where I realized that they were all made from fabric discards. And each house, I remember the first time I entered a house, and it was the first day of the thesis project, and I was thirsty, and I entered that small hut, and there was this beautiful wall hanging which had colorful trees, red, blue, yellow, green, just blasting out in color. And it was really amazing to see that, and that's when I started seeing that each house had such wall hangings.
The idea of using applique technique had already come into Medha's visual language. In 2004, she headed to Trivandrum in Kerala, and the time spent here became Medha's transformative years, where her art was no longer just art, but became a way of telling stories.
When I went to work with zero waste, it was just not the discard, but there were so many things around it, which I didn't realize till I started interacting with the heads of the organization, which were a group of environmentalists, spoken mainly by these people who were already looking at climate change as a big issue to talk about. Making was not the only thing. The environmentalists there who I was working with, they really mentored me in understanding this whole issue about what is discard doing to the environment and why okay, we use it as a resource, but why has it come there in the first place?
Whether the environment she works to protect or the environment she seeks to portray. Coming up after the break, we look at the evolution of Medha's art and the impact the environment had on it. Clothes with a Conscience is in Vadodara to meet 45-year-old artist and advocate of zero waste Medha Bhatt. Let's now look at how this textile designer's art evolved to reflect what she was seeing around her. Observing nature and understanding the deep relationship between humans and the world of trees and birds, mountains and rivers, Medha took up bringing nature into her work.
I was also going on these forest walks with all my environmentalist friends, and I was slowly hearing about, the bird counts are coming down, the forest, the Silent Valley, which is a pristine evergreen forest, which is now drying up slowly. A lot of forest fires are happening, and everything was being connected to climate change. So I was seeing the whole world of birds there, and there was this beautiful bird which I heard called the whistling schoolboy for the first time, the Malabar whistling thrush. And being a person with art and fabric discard, I said, it's such a beautiful call, how the bird looks. So when I saw the bird in a picture, I said, let me do this in fabric. So it was again looking at what environment is and so beautiful it is, and how I can quickly illustrate it into art. So using fabric discard. So then again, which blue? The Malabar whistling thrush has a beautiful blue, but to get the right blue, which only the discards could give me. So that's when I started looking at discards not just as a material, but as a medium to tell stories. And that's where this medium of storytelling related to environment really struck the chord. Because when you're using, water is blue, but when I'm talking about a stream which is not poisoned and a stream which has affluence in it, what is the kind of blue I'll use? So that language was given by discards. So there were so many layers which were forming, which really transformed my thinking about how I select discards, how I apply them, what is the meaning I'm giving, and that's where this clothes with conscience, I think every fabric has its conscience if you make an attempt to read through it. Every scrap has its conscience. I mean, you've discarded it, but it gets resurrected when you give that meaning to it. Ki acha, aap hai, you are this pure water, you are this affluent water.
It can take Medha hours, days even, to look for the right color and the right fabric from the bag of fabric scraps she's collected from nearby tailor shops, sometimes from neighboring homes.
Much of it is what, it is culture specific. These sacks have come from the nearby tailors. So I know what people wear here. So mainly you'll have the reds and lot of reds that come in, and very bright colors, and much of it, because this is Gujarat, a lot of people wear block prints. So it's also, I'll have a lot of block prints, also many machine printed textiles, but slowly there's synthetic also. I mean, I would say 50% synthetic or more, and then I'll have some of cottons. But the sack also has old clothes, and some scraps are nearly 20 years old, because my mother has been storing scraps. You'll find our school uniform scraps also there. We just don't throw away, so it's just lying there. So we have our own personal stories in them, but you'll find embroidered ones, printed ones, you'll find khadi scraps.
looking at the delicate form of the work Medha does, from creating the storyboard on paper to cutting the leaves in patterns, running a stitch through them, using discarded material in her work, is what is called the end of the pipe solution. But in her classroom at the National Institute of Design, she teaches her students how to change the perspective around consumption itself.
I really am questioning this whole act of discarding before even looking at the end of the pipe solution of what I'll do with this discard. Because what do we mean? Is it that something, when will you discard? When you discard a banana peel, you know it's going to become soil in 10 days. But when you're looking at a pair of jeans which takes 10,000 liters of water to make one pair of jeans, you have to thank a farmer for buying a jeans. But it's just an act, a conscious act of thinking. You're not thinking about the product, but you're thinking of the people, the whole system that has gone into making it. So if you value that system, then you'll think twice before, discarding it.
For Medha, this is simple math. Either you look at how much you buy or you figure out how you're going to discard. A responsible way of loving and living with the planet. Her art reflects the gentle manner in which this intimate relationship can be formed without having to shout one's intentions from a rooftop. This is just about practicing conscious thinking. What will happen when I discard?